Whether it's overpaying for an underachieving player, making a poor draft selection, or just some baffling releases, there are already some choices that were made in the offseason that have aged like milk.
It sounds like Will Fuller is still not ready. He's been out 2 months now. This is 2 months to the day. What an epic failure signing that was.
Some of the marquee offseason moves have already backfired to the point where these teams probably wish they could have a mulligan. Here are 10 such moves that these NFL teams are already regretting. Panthers surrender 3 picks for Sam Darnold. The Carolina Panthers weren't pleased enough with Teddy Bridgewater's 2020 performance, so Matt Rule and company sought a QB upgrade in the offseason. A rumored deal for Deshaun Watson never came to fruition. The Panthers also made a push for Matthew Stafford, but they couldn't outbid the Rams. That left them with option number 3. New York Jets signal caller Sam Darnold, who failed miserably in his 3 seasons in the Big Apple. The Panthers surrendered a 2021 6th-rounder plus 2022 second and 4th round picks in exchange for the former number 3 selection from the 2018 draft. But even with a more qualified coaching staff and a deep set of weapons, Darnold's struggles at the NFL level continued. He completed only 59.5% of his passes for 1,986 yards and 7 touchdowns against 11 picks. Injuries and inconsistency forced a desperate Carolina team to bring back old friend Cam Newton mid-season. If the 3 picks weren't costly enough, the Panthers also picked up Darnold's $18.8 million 5th-year option for 2022. Yikes. With the number 8 selection, the Panthers passed on guys like Justin Fields and Mac Jones, instead settling on South Carolina cornerback J.C. Horn. If they could go back, you'd have to think they'd rather go with one of those guys, or pretty much anyone else who was available instead of Darnold. Titans go all in for Julio Jones. At first, this looked like a massive coup for the Tennessee Titans. They acquired future Hall of Fame wide receiver Julio Jones from the Atlanta Falcons, along with a 2023 6th-rounder in exchange for 2022 2nd-round and 2023 4th-round picks. Jones has struggled to stay healthy with his new team, however. And even when he is on the field, the former All-Pro isn't making much of an impact. Jones missed 6 of Tennessee's first 12 games as he dealt with leg and hamstring injuries. In his first 6 contests, Jones had 0 touchdown receptions and was held to just under 5 catches in 5 of those games. When Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown are on the field, Tennessee doesn't really have much use for Jones. Trading a valuable 2nd-round pick for this type of production from Julio is a move that GM John Robinson surely wishes he could take back, especially given the way Jones' contract is structured. The Titans don't exactly have the option to release him, and nobody is taking on that deal in a trade. Giants throw $72 million at Kenny Golladay. Galladay's production with the Detroit Lions through his first 4 NFL seasons made this seem like it was a great deal for the New York Giants. But, boy, were we wrong. Golladay signed a 4-year pact worth $72 million, joining a stacked skill position group that also features Saquon Barkley, Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, Kadarius Toney, and Evan Ingram. But Golladay simply hasn't been the playmaker for the Giants that we saw in Detroit. Daniel Jones' subpar accuracy and habit of turning the ball over has made Golladay a terrible fit in this offense. And Golladay hasn't quite been a pillar of health in 2021. But even when he is on the field, the Giants coaching staff has done a terrible job of implementing him into their weekly game plan. I mean, we're talking about a guy who led the NFL with 11 touchdown receptions in 2019. Yet, he keeps putting up donuts in that category with the G-men. The key here is that the Giants had enough talented pass catchers as is. They probably should have invested that money on their offensive line or even a veteran quarterback to challenge Daniel Jones. Either of those would have helped their offense much more than adding another wideout to an already crowded receivers room. WFT gives William Jackson III $42 million. In year 1 under Ron Rivera, the Washington football team rode a suffocating defense to a surprise NFC East Division title. Looking to make the unit even more potent, Washington handed former Cincinnati Bengals standout cornerback William Jackson III a 3-year pact worth $42 million. Rather than address needs on the offensive side of the ball, Washington also used the number 19 pick on Kentucky linebacker Jamin Davis. Jackson was one of the NFL's elite corners in 2020, allowing only 51.4% completion percentage when targeted to go along with 11 passes defended. But Jackson has been a major liability in coverage for Ron Rivera and company, especially in the red zone. He's obviously not the entire reason, but Washington's defense has regressed in just about every major category here in 2021. Another thing, why didn't Washington just re-sign Ronald Darby, who was brilliant in his lone season in DC? Bringing him back, knowing what you already have, would have been a safer play than overpaying a cornerback who was unfamiliar with your system. Raiders give away Rodney Hudson to the Cardinals. John Gruden's final offseason performance for the Las Vegas Raiders already looks like a disaster. The Raiders had one of the league's best offensive lines in 2020, but Gruden and the front office inexplicably decided to break it up, dealing away Pro Bowl center Rodney Hudson to the Arizona Cardinals along with a 7th rounder for the small price of a 3rd-round pick. Gabe Jackson and Trent Brown were moved in separate trades to the Seattle Seahawks and New England Patriots respectively. But it's Hudson whom Derek Carr and company are missing the most right now. Hudson has been a rock on Arizona's O-line, helping them emerge as a top squad in the NFC. Meanwhile, his replacement, Andre James, has struggled with penalties while forcing Carr to feel some added pressure up the middle at times. Why the Raiders gave away one of the game's best centers while they were in win-now mode is beyond us. This trade will only be salvaged if Malcolm Kuntz, whom Vegas drafted with the 3rd rounder they got in the deal, develops into a quality starter. And that is a big if. Dolphins grab Will Fuller V in free agency. Here's another one of those, it seemed like a good idea at the time sort of deals. Looking to bolster the supporting cast around Tua Tagovailoa, the Miami Dolphins handed speedy wideout Will Fuller V a 1-year contract worth a rather generous $10.6 million. Sure, it was only a 1-year commitment, but $10.6 million for an injury-prone wideout who may only end up being your 3rd best receiver when healthy anyways? The former Houston Texans standout has missed most of the season due to a finger injury and a suspension that carried over from 2020. In his first 2 games, Fuller only had 4 catches for 26 yards and no TDs. Miami's banged-up offense was a mess in the first half of the season. Jalen Waddle and Tua Tagovailoa at least look like a dream combo together, but Fuller was supposed to bolster this revamped receiving core. That's kinda hard to do though when you're never on the field. After all, Fuller has still yet to play an entire season since entering the league in 2016. Jaguars draft Travis Etienne. We don't have Etienne on this list strictly because of the Lisfranc injury that unfortunately sidelined him for all of 2021. We have him on here for other obvious reasons. We weren't thrilled with the Jaguars' decision to take Etienne with the number 25 pick in the 2021 draft. First reason is obvious. Jacksonville already had a stud running back in James Robinson. And a reminder, you don't need 2 great running backs in today's pass-happy NFL. Secondly, the Jaguars had so many other holes across their roster. Wide receiver, the O-line, tight end, everywhere on defense. Why were they drafting a position that was already a strength? Rookie QB Trevor Lawrence has taken a lot of hits and simply lacks the playmakers outside of Robinson to do much. The secondary has been a mess, as predicted. But Urban Meyer just really wanted a 2-headed monster at running back, I guess? Etienne is going to have to be a consistent 1,000-yard rusher and multi-time Pro Bowl selection to justify this pick. But with Robinson there as well, it's hard to see that happening. Raiders reach for Alex Leatherwood at number 17 overall. Back to the topic on the Raiders' offensive line overhaul. It was one thing for Gruden and company to break up their best positional group. It was another to reach for Alex Leatherwood, who practically nobody viewed as a first-round talent, by the way, with the number 17 pick. The Raiders were panned for this right away, especially because it wasn't the first time they've pulled a bonehead move like this. They've reached for other players in recent draft, guys like Cleveland Farrell and Damon Arnett. And just look at how bad those picks turned out. Leatherwood has struggled mightily in pass protection and in the penalty department as a rookie. You can't blame the kid for being put in a tough situation, but the Raiders should have known better. If Leatherwood is your guy, why not at least trade down and nab him later? This was just awful asset management. Not to mention the Raiders had pressing needs on defense and passed on so many impact players at number 17 overall. Again, hindsight is 2020, but we knew from the get-go that the Raiders had messed up when they drafted Leatherwood. Titans give Bud Dupree $82.5 million. This was another move we didn't like from day one. The Titans recorded just 19 sacks in 2020, and with a plethora of pass rushers available on the market, they decided to settle on former Pittsburgh Steeler Bud Dupree. But was Bud really the answer for the Titans? It didn't take a genius to figure out that his high sack totals largely stem from the luxury of playing with TJ Watt, Cameron Hayward, and Stephon Tuitt. But the Titans decided to hand Dupree a mammoth 5-year contract worth $82.5 million anyway. And, as predicted, it has not gone well. The Titans obviously paid Dupree to get to the quarterback. And, well, he's just had 1 sack through his first 7 games. Knee and abdominal injuries keep him out for several contests after that. He was a liability in coverage and had little to do with the Titans' surprise turnaround on defense. Breakout years from Harold Landry and Jeffrey Simmons have instead fueled the Titans' pass rush. That's the good news for Tennessee. But they're still stuck with a really bad contract for a player who isn't making much of an impact at all. Bucs bring back Antonio Brown. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers signed Antonio Brown at Tom Brady's recommendation in the midst of the 2020 season. The Bucs were fine accepting the PR backlash, and Brown played a key role in their Super Bowl 55 championship run. Brown signed a new 1-year pact with Tampa worth $6.25 million in the offseason. He got off to a scorching start by racking up 29 catches for 418 yards and 4 touchdowns in his first 5 games in 2021. But an ankle injury kept Brown sidelined for the next 2 months, and that wasn't even the worst of it. In November, Brown's former personal chef, Steven Ruiz, alleged that AB had obtained a fake vaccine card. Ruiz went public as a way of getting revenge for unpaid bills by Brown. It was later revealed that Brown and teammates John Franklin III and Mike Edwards did in fact obtain fake vaccine cards. All 3 were handed 3-game suspensions as a result. And so, the Buccaneers just created another giant PR mess for themselves. And they have to manage without a couple of key members of their team because of Brown's selfish decision. With the postseason around the corner, these are the type of things that can really disrupt a locker room, which is the last thing that the defending champs need right now. But what other 2021 NFL offseason moves do you think NFL teams are already regretting? Join us in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.